Closing arguments in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard defamation trial are expected to take place tonight. In what may be the final day of testimony, experts challenged claims Heard suffered from PTSD due to abuse from her former husband.
It was a day of rebuttal testimonies Thursday as the Johnny Depp Amber Heard defamation trial continues. Both sides calling witnesses to offer counter insight into key evidence. Depp's team calling up orthopedic surgeon Dr. Richard Gilbert, who said a vodka bottle could have injured Depp's finger, as the actor claimed.
A simple fall would not result in a comminuted fracture such as is seen in these x-rays.
Dr. Dawn Hughes was back on the stand to say Heard suffered from PTSD, a claim Depp's expert witness said was not appropriate. Hughes disagreed.
I did a clinical assessment of those symptoms to see if they meet criteria for PTSD. And yes, she did meet PTSD from that.
Depp's legal team questioned that diagnosis, saying the test must be administered within a certain time frame.
The instructions say, look over the past year. And
yeah, on this, yes, that it says that.
And you had actual knowledge when you gave the test that Mr. Depp was gone way more than a year before this test.
That is correct.
A tearful Heard also returned to the stand.
I am harassed, humiliated, threatened every single day. This is painful, and this is humiliating for any human being to go through.
To discuss the trial so far, I'm now joined by Richard Mitry from Mitry Lawyers. Richard, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks.
As we've just heard there, the final day, possibly, of testimony. How is it looking for both sides, do you think, based on what's been presented so far?
It really could go either way, Danica. I mean, it's hard to say. That we've heard very sensational testimony from both sides, from eyewitnesses, other lay witnesses and expert witnesses, not only to try and get their own side across, but also, of course, to cast doubt on the credibility of the other side. This is a jury trial. Jury trials are inherently uncertain. The jurors aren't lawyers. They're individuals. So really, it could go either way.
You're right, we've heard from so many people throughout the last couple of weeks. One of those was, of course, Kate Moss, that she gave evidence and denied that Johnny Depp ever pushed her down the stairs during a vacation in Jamaica, I think it was, many years ago. She said that he's a good man, that they had a good relationship. How important was this evidence, particularly for Johnny Depp's case?
It was important. It's probably not pivotal. It won't be decisive by itself, of course, but it is important, not only because it outlined his character and her comments, which are meant to be independent, I suppose, on his character, but also because they directly refuted something that Amber Heard said in her own testimony, which was that she heard rumours, or she understood that he'd pushed her down the stairs. So by Kate Moss not only denying that in all of 3 minutes, which is probably the quickest testimony in this whole trial, but categorically stating good things about him, naturally it's going to help his case.
We discussed last time you were on about defamation trials in general. What does victory look like in the context of a trial like this?
Victory in this case would look like a lot of money, I think, probably more than anyone has ever seen in any defamation case in history. Because if Johnny Depp wins and he gets an order for $50 million US, which is what he's asking for, that'd be unprecedented. If Amber Heard wins, she's countersuing him for $100 million US. If she wins, that'll be, funnily enough, not all of his fortune, but a very large portion of it. So, yeah, a lot of money.
Well, it is a lot of money. And as you said, Depp has sued Amber Heard for $50 billion. That's not what she is worth. So will he even get that if he wins? And why would he sue for that much?
Yeah, he is saying that the reason he's suing for that much is because of the op-ed piece that she wrote and was published in the Post, in the Washington Post. He'd lost that sort of money in terms of lost film roles and the rest of it, which would have seen him receive a lot of money. So that's why technically he's asking for it. I think the big figure is also one of the ideas of damages in defamation is that people say the higher the number, the greater the vindication of their reputation. So he's probably aiming for this enormous amount of money to say that if I'm awarded $50 million, no one should ever have believed what was said in the first place. I guess conceptually that's what he's after. Whether he gets it or not is another thing. As you said, she probably doesn't have that much money. She doesn't have that much money from what we understand. So if he was to try and enforce an order like that, the chances are she'd be bankrupted.
It's got to be fascinating to see what the result is. I've got to ask you, it's been fascinating to watch Amber Heard when she's giving her testimony because she really stares down the jury, looks directly at them. Anyone else who's taken the stand, they're looking at the lawyers. They're looking at who's asking the questions. What is the strategy behind that? Do you think it's deliberate?
Yeah, probably. Because I don't think anybody naturally would stare at a bunch of people, especially when they're not actually talking to them. Right, so it's or in some circumstances not talking to them. There's been a lot of speculation about this. People are saying that she's been coached by her lawyers or by consultants, jury consultants, to stare at them, probably to show emotion or empathy or humanise herself. There's been a lot of talk that she wants them to see, or her lawyers want the jury to see her as human, a real person, not just somebody who's a celebrity making quite significant allegations. Who knows? I mean, I don't think if I'm ever if anybody that I know is speaking to a jury, I tell them to just act like themselves, not sort of stare them down, because I don't imagine the jury's feeling all that comfortable.
Yeah, I wondered how the jury would feel about that. So we're in the possible final day of testimony now, Richard. So what happens next?
Yeah, it's probably like what you see in the movies.
Yeah.
So after this, there'll be closing arguments after the final day of 6 odd weeks of testimony. The lawyers will come out and say why the evidence that has been heard over that period either favours their case or hurts the other side's case. And then the jury will go into deliberation. So they're effectively in a closed room and they'll thrash it out. It could be a days or even weeks long process by the time we actually get a verdict in this matter.
I'll tell you what, it's been fascinating to watch it. I think the world's eyes have certainly been on what's been a very highly publicised trial, we have to say. Richard Mitry, great to speak with you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.